All right, guys, welcome to the Endure Nick podcast. Got a great guest we have here today, Chief Mario, really like to call him. It took me, no offense, it took me a minute to realize that you weren't Spanish and you're Italian. I didn't know how to say your last name when I first
Sicilian.
Sicilian.
Yes.
So, going over the Endure Nick podcast, one of the main things is I like to talk to people that have been through something hard and how they get through it and where they're at today. And I know we've had some conversations before in the past, and I feel like you'd be a great guest to have on the podcast.
Took you long enough.
I'm sorry, I have a busy schedule.
Took you long enough.
I mean,
I think I reached out to your people. You know.
Well, you see, that's the problem is we have the same people, and he has to work for you more than he has to work for me. So, but yeah, Chief, if you want to start, growing up in your life and kind of go from there, childhood, move forward.
Yeah, man. First, thank you, man, because I am truly, and what you're doing and what you've been doing has been great for everyone to get a glimpse of your journey, right, that you've been through over the years and coming up and your situation. It's an inspiration to see what you become and who you are today, not as an officer, but as a man, as a husband, as a father. I mean, that's a testament to truly what you put your mind through and your heart through and what guided you through that whole ordeal with your mom, right? To where you are today and giving back. For me, man, it's pretty simple. I had a great family. I have a great family. I had a great upbringing. My father was a hard man, right? But not a bad man. He's a hard, old-fashioned, old-school Sicilian. And so, that's what I learned from him. I learned from him that you're going to support your family. You're going to be a worker, and your word is everything, and your character. So for me, growing up in Pennsylvania, loved it. Had a great upbringing. Played sports. Went to Catholic school for many, many years, and we moved to Florida. I moved in with my sister at the time, and my parents were still up north, and did about 2 weeks into my junior year down in South Florida, and never went back. Never went back. Can't really give you a reason why. I was, I think, 17, and never went back. And school was never a big thing for our family. Both my sister and my brother were dropouts, high school dropouts. It was work. It was work, and that was it. My father said, "All right, well, it's time to go to work." So I did, but I didn't like where my life was going. I was getting involved in with certain folks that I shouldn't have, and one thing led to another. Man, I wanted to. I knew I had the itch, the yearning to serve. I just didn't know in what capacity. So I've always known back then that I wanted to be a police officer since I was young. And I knew I wasn't going to do it as a high school dropout. So I was asking some of our folks that were police officers down there, what I needed to do. And they're like, well, you need to go to college. First of all, you need to get your degree or go to the military. So to stay away from school, I went to the military. And prior to that, I went to an adult ed school to get my GED, which I did. And without even going and speaking with my parents, I went to go see an Army recruiter. And 6 months later, I was getting sent to basic training in Georgia. Best decision I ever made was going and A, serving my country, B, truly made me a man. It made me truly understand the different personalities out there, the different types of egos and ethnicities. I mean, working together as a team, truly, man, it was awesome. And I was just a young kid, man. I was 18.
I feel like I had that moment because I don't know if I ever told you when, like after I graduated high school, my dad and stepmom, they were like, "Hey, you need to go to college," and I was like, "I don't know what I want to do." Mm-hmm. So flunking my way through college and ended up kicking out of the house, being homeless. 18, 19, looking back, I always tell people, I was like, my only regret is I wish I didn't have, like, whatever I had going on, I wish I would have went into the military. Because I feel like I was missing what you just described. You know, like, just that had on top of, like, the feeling of serving and then learning certain core values, just going through as, like, a young boy, like, learning what kind of adult man you want to be. And that's one thing I always, I'm grateful for where I am now, but I look back and I'm like, man, if I could have changed something, that would have been the route, you know, do like 4, 8 years, whatever the contracts are. But I always thought about doing that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a military police when I saw the recruiter, and they were like, "No, you're not tall enough." I was like, "Not tall enough."
That's a height requirement.
Apparently, back then they said that you needed to be 6 feet taller or taller. So they're like, "But hey, how about this infantry? Look at all these cool things. You jump out of airplanes and all that." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." So they signed me up and went to basic training. Went to my first duty station, and the MPs are waving us through the gates, and it's like a 5'3" MP waving us through all the. Okay, you got me. But it was great, man. And that's where it started for me. I was in Kentucky for a couple years, and went to Panama, went to Chile for a little bit, and that's where I met my wife. And the rest is history in terms of where we are today. But the Army truly shaped me, right? In terms of my core values and what to stand for. And my work ethic was always there. I always had that. I get that from my dad, my upbringing, and wanting to help people. I've always had that in me, right? I just never knew, I didn't know how to apply it and in what capacity. And so once I got out of the military, I knew I wanted to be a police officer. That's why I wasn't going to stay in the military. My plan was do your first tour, enlistment, and get out. And so,
How long were you in there for?
3 years. 3 years active duty and 5 years reserves. So it was an 8-year enlistment. And so I was blessed, man. My last year in Panama was awesome. And then I got out, moved back to Florida with my wife, had my daughter. Was working with my father. He had a landscaping company, and was making decent money. But man, it was 6, 7 days a week with no future. And so there was no retirement, there was no insurance, there was no nothing. So it was good for the time to do it to support my family, but I knew I wanted so much more. And so my in-laws moved to Palm Bay at the time, and we went to visit. I was like, wow, this is nice. It was a lot smaller back then, but used my GI Bill to send me to the academy. My wife got transferred over here as well for her job, so I went full time while we were living with my in-laws, and she would work full time, and we made it through. And then Bombay offered me a job, and here I am.
Did she serve too, or you met her in Chile?
No, I met her while I was in the military because her father had just retired. My father-in-law did 20 years, and he retired from the military, so they stayed where I was stationed at. So, and through friends, we met, and that was it. That was it.
How long y'all been married now?
We've been together 31 years, married 30. So, and in that, you learn a lot about life. You learn a lot about who you are and who you think you are and who you're not. But for me, there's no way 35, 40 years ago, you would have told me that Mario Augello, where you were headed before you went into the military to where you are today, about to retire as chief of police and served your country in the United States Army, high school dropout, that this is where you would be today. I would have never. But that goes to show you, man, where God brings you and where God takes you. Through the course of all that, we talk about my career. Yeah, I've been through every facet of the department. I told my lieutenant at the time, my midnight shift lieutenant at the time, George Emilius. Everybody was afraid of George Emilius. Um, I told him when I got on his shift, he asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I want two things. I want leadership and I want to be on SWAT. He's like, okay. And that's kind of what I tried to navigate towards to get. It wasn't because I wanted to make changes. It wasn't that I wanted, in terms of wanting to be a leader or of rank. I knew my purpose was always to serve. And I felt that in certain capacities, you have the ability and influence to serve better, right? And that's what I always told myself, Never wanted to be the chief. I always figured I'd be a sergeant or lieutenant. I knew I would be of rank, right? I mean, I knew that was me. Like I was going to lead men and women, and serve. I knew that from a very young age. But I never imagined I would reach to that level, right? That wasn't my goal. And, Jim Rogers once told me, he goes, never say never.
Yeah. I know that saying is if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah. It's been a great career. We've been some ups and some downs, but that's it. That's life, right? It's what you learn from it and how you grow and get strong through it all. But the friendships that I've made, the connections that I've made, it's invaluable. And and then towards, I don't know, I think I was a commander. Actually, I was a lieutenant. GED, had no college. Everybody was getting their masters and bachelors and all this, and I didn't. I was stupid. I was naive. I was like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that I'm a leader. And Chief Rogers agreed. You don't, but you're going to be the best lieutenant that ever retired from the police department because that's as far as you're going to go. And like, all right, I got you. So yeah, I went and got my degree. I went and got my bachelor's degree. I think it was in my 40s, and that was an accomplishment for me because I really am not a fan. I struggled with schooling, with academics.
Yeah, I'm not a good test taker either.
Yeah, it was a struggle for me, But I became a commander and I figured, okay, I'll retire at 25. That was my plan back then, was at 25 years, I would retire. I wasn't going to do the drop, My son and his girlfriend were pregnant. They were going to have a baby. We were excited. We were going to be grandparents. And he was born, Kyler was born in December of 2021. And February 1st, Kyler passed. So that was a turning point in my life. Turning point in my life. We always tell ourselves that we're spiritual, we're religious, whatever word we want to put next to that. I would always say, yeah, I'm spiritual, and I wasn't anything. I believed in God back then. I believed in Him, but I really didn't even touch the surface of what truly it is to have faith. And then Kyler passed away, and it rocked my world, rocked my family's world, and I knew I needed something more than what I've had over the last 30-something years. And I found God through our church, through our pastor. And it's been a ride ever since. Hasn't been easy. He tells you it's not going to be easy. But that's what got me through it. He got me through what we went through. The anger, the emotions, the roller coaster, up and down. Therapy, went through several years of therapy. I was going to therapy prior to Kyler passing. I probably should have started with that, but yeah, I went to therapy for about 4 years prior to Kyler passing away. What I was diagnosed eventually with was PTSD, high functioning depression, and anxiety. And I was like, no way, high functioning depression. what is that? I'm not depressed. I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. He's like, exactly, high functioning depression.
Hmm.
It was just one of those things, man. That I was feeling off for a while, and then it got worse. And so, I went to the doctors, got everything, got the physicals, I did blood work, went to make sure that, there was nothing wrong with my brain. I mean, I did all the tests out there because I was telling my wife, like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with me. And so primary care is like, you may have PTSD, you may have anxiety. I was like, what? Because I was that guy, and I've said it to several folks. I was that guy that felt that, no way, I'll never get that. It'll never affect me. It seems like everybody has it, right? And then it smacked me right in the face. And I believed that was God's purpose for me, to be that leader, to push forward, first to experience it, to understand it, to educate yourself with it, and then take care of others. And that started, Jim Rogers was chief, Nelson Moyle was the deputy chief. I was a commander, I think, and I suffered from separation anxiety. That was also part of it, right? And they had the FBI supervisor, special agent in charge for our area, came down and congratulated me that got you a seat at the next National FBI Academy. And I was like, what? I had no desire to go. That's what, I think it was a couple of months away from your family, right? Out of state. That would have drove me crazy.
Yeah.
And I hadn't told anybody at work. My wife was the only one that knew what I was going through. And so that was tough. So I finally came out and told them that, I can't go. What do you mean you can't go? I said, hey, I have no desire to be the chief of police one day. I said, and B, this is what I've been dealing with. And they understood, and they were great, man. They were awesome, but we still had nothing to help us, So I went and saw a therapist. I went to several first and just didn't work out. You'll know if you find a clinician or a therapist, you'll know if they're the one, because you will click just like that.
Yeah.
But when I finally found the one, would go there for 4 years, and then Kyler passed away. Kyler passed away, and then she asked if it would be okay for her to attend our celebration of life. I was like, absolutely, thank you. So we're at a church that I've never been to, and at the end of the service, I'm talking to the pastor, and here comes my therapist and gives the pastor a big hug. I was like, what? He raised her in the church.
Oh, wow.
He raised her in the church for many, many years. And I was like, wow. And I don't believe in coincidences, man. Mm-hmm. She was put in my life for a reason a few years prior. And man, it's been, my faith is everything to me right now. It's what's kept me up in terms of there for my family, here for our folks, and more importantly for me, as a human being, as a man. Yeah, you mentioned it. It's been a tough couple of years, but you know what, man? It's I wouldn't change anything. As crazy as it sounds, I wouldn't change anything, because everything that I've been through, everything that we've been through as a family, as an organization, has shaped us to who we are today.
Yeah, I feel like the same way when I look back and I think about like what happened with my mom, where I say like, if I could go back and change it, would I rather have her here now? Like, yeah, it'd be nice, but I don't think without what happened to me and my family, I wouldn't have my wife and my kids that I have now, And like touching back when you said like that was the first time you really were like speaking with God. I remember 8 years old, a guy comes in the house with a gun, and I just remember praying for the first time. It was just like, hey, I don't know what to say here, but God, can you please keep my family safe? And safe, our version of safe is different from his version of safe, is what I noticed. And, you know, when I look at my kids, like I see my mom, and there's times where I'm just like, man, like it feels like she's still here, you know? And growing up, so I was 8, 9, you know, they tried to put me through therapy as a kid. I just remember telling whatever room I was in with an adult, I was like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to anybody. And as I got older and we started going to church and started to, you know, have that relationship with God, and I'd say more so, went to church when I was younger, but when I was 18, 19, going to church with my wife's family, and I started to learn, like, it's a relationship with God that you have. It's not like a religion. That's what helped me with my healing process, was just accepting God's plan, and then like knowing like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, you know, when it's not normal to experience the death of a child. And, you know, at that point, when Kyler passed away, I've been in law enforcement over 20 years, right? We've seen it, right? We've seen it everywhere. But until that's you, right? That's your family. Yeah, there's nothing like that. But with that, Kyler, this took a while for me to say out loud. Kyler passing away has shaped me into the man I am today, for the better. And that's something to say, right? That, man, your grandson dying has made you better. Yeah. And I really can't explain it. But I am who I am today, stronger relationship with our Creator, with God, better relationship with my family, better relationship with my friends. It's because of that day and what came after that. And the clarity that I have now. You know, we always struggle, like, what's going to be next? What comes after this thing we call our career? You know, and I don't know for me. You know, I leave in 8 months. I retire. But I'll tell you, man, I'm at peace. Like, truly, I'm sure I'm going to get emotional. I know I'll get emotional as it gets closer, but I'm at peace with it. You know, because the men and women of our organization are good to go, man. Like, we got great leadership there. And the one constant has always been that agency will always be there, right? It would always run. We have great leadership. I like to equate it to a farm system in minor league ball and baseball. Like, we had a great farm system of leadership that are just waiting to be tapped, right? And so that puts me at ease, right? But I'm ready to go. And people are like, what are you gonna do next? You're gonna have a plan. I've had a plan for over 35 years. It's been a regimented plan. I just want to break. I want to enjoy my family. I want to serve my family now. You know, and be there for them. I want to continue to serve God in different capacities. You know, I know my plan is to serve. I just don't know in what capacity yet. You know, towards mental health. You know, maybe more in the church. I don't know. But it's been a I don't want to say a ride, but learned a lot. Met great people. God has blessed me and my family with so much. But the biggest thing is that he's blessed me with is that he has, on every occasion when I go back and I reflect on my journey over the last couple months, I've been reflecting a lot. I can actually pinpoint where and when and he's placed individuals into my life to get me through a particular period, to protect me, to support me, to mentor me, to guide me, to show me. You know, I can pretty much name them, name the situations, name the individuals. So it's been a ride. But for me, the program, the initiative was for mental health, man. You know, I felt it, I experienced it. It's not forever. That's what people aren't told often, is that, once you have that, you're stuck with it. No, that's not true. You know, but we needed to do something internally, and we wanted to create a program, and we did, and it's morphed into what it is today, and it's going to continue to grow and expand because we got a great wellness coordinator, and we're breaking down barriers, we're breaking down walls internally, right? Nationally, there's still, it's leading in the right direction, and that's being led by Doug and Karen Mondo and Survive First Foundation, and several other individuals that are out there. But to me, it was simple. I have no problem sitting in a room full of cops telling them my story, because if they can see that guy is going through it and dealing with it in that position, with that status, right, being a chief of police, and we're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. He's going through that. I'm going to be okay. That's why I had no reservations to talk about it when I sat there at department training a couple of years ago and told my story, because they needed to hear it.
I think like when you talk about like God putting certain people in your life at certain points, I feel like Doug was one of them. Like when I started at Coco, I just saw him as some old dude that was in the dope unit. I'm like, who's this guy? And then learning his story, and then knowing that most of those old guys, they knew about my story before I even got there. And just hearing the impact it made, it was one of those moments where it was like, hey, I didn't realize how big this was externally to help like other people get through whatever they're going through, until I went to hostage negotiation school, and they're doing the PowerPoint. And I see my mom's obituary photo in the PowerPoint. And I was like, hey, that's my mom. And then the instructor's like, let's take a break. Are you good? I was like, yeah, we're good. I can talk about it. And that was the first time I openly spoke about it to a group of people that I didn't know. And for part of me, it felt like it was helping me with the healing process of reaching out to people, sharing with them something that happened to me and how I turned into a positive outlook as to where I'm at and how I got to what I'm doing. And now with Survive First, having that resource, I feel like not just Doug, but other resources in this area, we're blessed to have an outside resource. If we need help, we can have it. And I mean, before I came over, I just remember seeing all the stuff that you guys were doing and knowing that it was available, especially coming from somewhere where it wasn't as available or spoken about. It felt like, I remember I had gotten the text message saying, hey, Chief wants to meet with you. And I was like, what? I don't work there. He's like, I know you want to come over. We talk. It's 2 hours and talking. I don't know if you remember, but
I do.
I told you who I was, where I was at. My wife's not gonna be working. I'm a family guy. I want to make sure they're good. And knowing that we had all these things in place that was literally in my backyard to have, it felt like this is the place where I need to come. It felt like, especially 10 years ago when I first applied, went through the process, couldn't pass the frontline tests, couldn't make it through orientation just as a young kid. The 10 years I had working other places, build that experience, and I felt like it was God's plan of saying, all right, time to come home. You have kids, family, I figured it out. I want to say I figured it out younger. Just anytime hearing, someone would experience in our job talk, and for me, I always heard them say, make sure your family's good. This will come and go, but your family's the important thing. And once we started having more kids, I realized the stuff that I missed with, my soon-to-be 10-year-old. When she was born, I was in field training. I missed one day of work, and I went back. And there's times where my wife would be like, "Hey, you remember when she did this or this?" And I tell her,
Yep.
No, I don't.
Yeah, man. This career is fulfilling. But you're right. There's things that I don't remember with when my kids were growing up. And during therapy, I was always asked, what's bothering you? This was towards the end. This was probably maybe about a year or two ago. No, maybe a little bit longer. And I didn't know what was up, but it bothered me because, and for the first time I admitted that for the first 20 plus years of my career, my family got in the way of my career. I was able to admit that. And a lot of officers will tell you that. They just, if they're truly honest with themselves, they will tell you that's 100% right. And that bothered me, and then my last year or two of my career was getting in the way of what I want to do with my family and with my life. Mm. So I'm seeing that transition already, right? A couple years ago. But I wasn't ready yet. Not that I wasn't ready yet. I truly believe God's like, not yet. I haven't picked your successor yet, And so a couple months ago, my wife and I were talking, and I told her, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to retire, and she's like, let's go, let's do it, and I just felt a sense of peace with it once I made it official with the city manager. And I felt a sense of peace with it and the successor, with Jeff, being named the next chief, God's telling me, we're ready. You did what I asked you to do for the last couple of years. That's how I feel, honestly. Because I tell you, man, if it wasn't for the men and women in the department, I wouldn't be where I am today. Meaning, take the position to do what we've done. Because the administrative side of being the chief of police is not very appealing to me whatsoever. It's speaking and talking every day with folks within the department, making sure they're okay, calling them up. When they're out for an extended period of time, checking on them frequently, regularly, and just constantly just talking to them. Because that's what we're supposed to do, right? Not because I'm the chief of police or we're in administration, we're in our command staff. That's what we're supposed to do when we say we're going to take care of each other. Mm. I meant what I said when I got sworn in, that I can't take care of our community if I can't take care of the men and women of the department. We got a great place, man. We really do. We've got great men and women. Some folks are just never going to make happy. Nothing you do is going to make them happy. But we have those in every aspect of our life, other jobs, other careers. Just no matter what you do, they're never going to be pleased. And I've come to terms with that. But the moment I felt ready and at peace that, I feel good for the future of our organization, and our people, our folks will be just fine being led by this man. And that's where I'm at, It's been a ride. It's been a journey. But I've learned over the last couple of years, 3.5, 4 years, truly, is that God never wastes. He doesn't waste the pain that you go through. He doesn't just use that to help shape you. He uses it to empower us to minister to others, to talk about our lives, to really, truly resonate with what they're going through, by them truly sensing in you, okay, he's not BSing me. Because I can see through somebody's eyes. I can see in your eyes, like, you went through some pain years ago. But look where you are now. Look how God has empowered you to be this, this beacon of hope, having a podcast, speaking, who you are. If anything else, what you're presenting to your children, of how to carry yourself, how to live, that you can conquer any mountain or move any mountain, That's what God does when we go through pain. He uses that to empower us to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, I saw something where it was like, God, what you go through is not just for you. It's for others.
Yeah, man. You can ask anybody who's been in the department the last 3-4 years. We've seen a lot. We've experienced a lot. more than I would have wanted. But I'll say, like I said earlier, I wouldn't change anything because it's made us who we are today. It has truly made us who we are today. You know, we have a city of 147,000 people. That's big. And if I were to worry about what every person said or thought of me or our department, I'd go crazy. I can't focus on what people are going to think of me. I can only just be true to what God wants me to do and how he wants me to carry myself and how to do it. That is it. Some folks are going to like it. Some folks are not. Some folks, no matter what, never like Mario Augello. And that's okay. Years ago, I wasn't okay with that because I wanted everybody to like me. You know, but that just goes, even at 50, you're still maturing. There's still room to grow and be better. And our goal here, our purpose here is to help one another succeed through this thing we call life, you know, and to be each other's brothers and sisters and truly take care of each other on and off duty, you know, because this job, as you know, this job will just take from you and take from you and take from you until there's nothing else left to take. And I refuse for that to happen to our folks. I refuse for that to happen. That's why this wellness program was so important to me and will continue to be important to me as we move into the future. Got to have it. We got to have it and continue to grow from it and have partnerships and relationships with Doug and Karen. And, you know, even when we started, we had Bayside Health and Wellness. And there's so many others that we currently have with us that we're partnering with, and our peer support team and, you know, our chaplain team. And it's just, yeah, man. Got to keep going. Got to keep it going.
Yeah, I know. I learned for me, like outside, especially where you say like the job will take from you. Like you need outside hobbies and like just things to do. And you know, for me, it's not running fast. I just like to run far. So I don't know if do you have any like what do you? I know you're busy, but like what kind of stuff do you do for your mental health?
Man, well, you know, it used to be martial arts, but I kept getting hurt, so I stopped doing that. Pickleball, you know, I knew you were gonna get that laugh, but let me tell you,
I knew it was coming.
We try to do it 3 days a week and 2 hours a pop, and it just releases. You know, we don't talk about work, we play. You know, we're very competitive, as you can imagine, and I do regular, you know, just weight training. But aside from that, it's just I'm a homebody. I'm a couch potato. You know, I can stay home all day long with my family and my grandson and just be just fine. But for activity, yeah, man, it's pickleball. You know, it's this thing right now. And serving. You know, I've become more involved in our church. You know, I just came back from a leadership conference with them out of state, and so I don't know, man. I don't know where I'm going with it. Where God's leading me, you know. I don't know where God's leading me, you know, but I feel good about it, you know. So, yeah.
Well, Chief, we hit on a lot, and I respect you being transparent and like, you know, talking about everything we went through, because it's hard for people to do, and I feel like it's one of the things that brought me here and even got me to this point of just doing something like this is that the transparency and just being honest about like, hey, you know, this is what I went through, and this is how I'm going through it. You know, like because like you said, there's gonna be good days and bad days. You know, like for me, the anniversary of when my mom was killed, it's my brother's birthday, and then you know, like a week later, it's me and my wife's 15-year anniversary. So end of July is always like a lot of emotions for me. You know, it's a lot to process. But for me now, it's like one of those things where it's a time to reflect and appreciate the moments that I had with the ones that I lost. And you know, there's times where like you just feel like, especially being a dad, husband, you're working, it feels like sometimes, and I tell my wife this feeling, especially when it comes to the kids, where they don't care how you feel, they still need you to perform, right? Like nobody cares how you feel. They still need you to be the dad, husband, boss, whatever you need. And when I say it, she'll always tell me they care how you feel. They just don't know how to show it, you know. And then looking back, it's like sometimes I feel like I say that and I take it to heart too much, and it makes me like not want to be where I'm at emotionally. But I try to slow down and enjoy the little things. Like she's so locked in on being a mom and just enjoying the little things that when I come home, it's hard for me to express it. But like you said, being home and just watching your kids grow, you know, it's a little thing that it just gets you through the day. I appreciate you coming out and speaking, and I feel like you said, God's plan, you know, when you retire, you're still gonna be serving some which way, and if it's something local, it'll be nice for us to have you in our back pocket as a resource, you know, wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I remember years ago sitting in our briefing room. I think it was 5-7 years in on the job, and folks were close to retirement. I was like, oh, man, they would always say, I'll be here before you know. I was like, whatever, man. I got like 20-something years to go. Here we are.
Yeah.
You know, so it does come. It may not appear because we go through things, right, during the course of our journey, but it does move. I mean, you talk about your kids. My daughter's 20, going to be 29 years old. My son's 24. I got a 2-year-old grandson, you know, and little Mario that we've been blessed with, you know, and man, you have to enjoy it, and you have to truly believe that what we're going through, what we're experiencing, there's a purpose behind it, you know, and you got to find and truly have a relationship with our Creator and our God to have that peace. Because if you don't have peace, man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a rough road. You know, a lot of folks, family included, my son, and would tell me, "Dad, how you been getting through it?" My faith, my faith. You know, because folks can't touch me. You know, they can't touch me. They're not at my level, and I don't mean that to say that in a way that I'm arrogant and cocky because of my abilities. It has nothing to do with my abilities. It has to do with my faith. They are not at my level when they're with whoever they may be, or whatever they might want to try to portray me to be. Because God continues to provide for me, you know, and that has what's gotten me through losing my eldest grandson, dropping out of high school, going through the military, the last 4 years as chief of police with so many that we've endured, no pun.
Put a banner up.
That we've endured, yeah, with our organization and our folks getting, you know, our officers getting shot, you know, our officers being involved in officer-involved shootings, folks struggling with their mental health and well-being, folks struggling with their relationships, folks struggling with finances. You know, that's what we're here for. You know, if we talk about we want to be leaders, lead. Mm-hmm. Lead when it's hard. See, that's what pisses me off, man. You're going to get me on the roll here. They want to be leaders, but they don't want to lead. They just want rank, you know? Lead. You got to lead the men and women through the hardest parts of their lives. And it's tough, but they need you.
Yeah.
They need you.
It's a hard conversation, but then you appreciate the ones that know where it's like, hey, my guy's going through something. Like, let me check on him.
Yeah, man. Know? But this has been awesome, man. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. This truly, you're providing an outlet for folks, man. You know, you may think it's for you, right? I'm just saying, I'm not speaking for you, but you're providing something for somebody else as well. And to come here and speak with you and just let it out. Let it out, and hopefully that it resonates and touches somebody. But more importantly, it's therapeutic as well. The more you talk about what you've been through, it helps you. You know, and I'll be talking about it until it's time.
Yep.
So, but I appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, man.
Appreciate you.
Yep.